Hey, what is going on, guys? So here we have the HG Death Army kit, otherwise known as the Dark Army for those of us in the US who grew up watching g-gundam on Toonami. I was always a big fan of g-gundam. I like it. I know a lot of people aren't really big fans of it. It's a kind of divided fan base for g-gundam. But I was definitely really happy when Bandai announced this kit. It's a continuation of Bandai's line of making these alternate universe grunt suits like the Leo, the Maganok, and now the Death Army kit. So I wonder what's gonna be next. I don't know, but I'm sure we're bound to see some variants of this. Probably just the four-legged variant. And I know there's a build diverse variant, which is also a four-legged version. But I think we'll probably see a regular four-legged version of this. But if you guys watched the build video, the live build of this, I did have some mixed opinions, some mixed thoughts on that, so I'll go through those here, of course, in the review video. As always, guys, thank you to ZakuAurelius Store for their support. If you want to check the link down in the video description, you can check out this kit and everything else there. You can save 10% off everything using the coupon code there, ZakuAurelius10, so check that out. Now, let's just talk about the few accessories that this has. First off, let's just start off with the simple stuff here. As for his hand options, you just got these two holding hands, and you do have a third one as well, which is this kind of very large open hand. This is for holding the weapon, which would be here, the club-shaped beam rifle. So this is just obviously a club-shaped beam rifle. This does have a seam line all the way down the middle of that, and this front cap part is just a cap on the front of there. It's just two halves sandwiched together, so you will have seams all the way through all these spikes and through this inner detail in there. You can see there's a little hole here on the side, and that is where this is going to plug onto this open hand here for using the rifle also as a melee weapon, as a club, like so. But otherwise you can just hold it in just the regular holding hand, just pop it into there like so, and it holds it well enough. Obviously not going to have any issues with that. Now these pegs on the side, I'm not really sure what you can do with those, because I don't think you can really plug it into the back or here or anything. Yeah, strangely it doesn't actually really fit into that hole there. It seems like it might, but it doesn't. And the last thing, it does also come with the folded up version of the foot for when you're transforming it into kind of its like hovering mode. As for stickers, the only stickers that you have is just for the mono-eye there, but you actually have two different ones. You can actually turn the mono-eye around, just pop off the top of the head, which is pretty easy enough. And you basically got two forms of the mono-eye. Now this one I think you guys told me is the scanning mode, and you can pull out this part in here, and it's kind of like an SD kit. You've got the two different versions of the eyes on the front and back of this part, so you just turn that part around to the other side, and you have the smaller mono-eye, which I think you guys said is kind of basically like the inactive version, or I might have them backwards, but anyway, you've got two versions of the mono-eye there. And that's it for the stickers. Now I'm actually really surprised that you didn't get little black circular stickers for these two little black circles there on the front of the chest, and then down here on the front of the legs there as well. So just for reference, if we'll take a look at the manual here, you see those are black circles there and there. And obviously it would have been cool if those were actual separate black parts set inside there, but it's really surprising that those weren't actual stickers, considering, again, this is just a cheap, simple high grade. But whatever the case, just a little bit of black paint in there should sort you out. Anyway, let's just talk about the articulation here. The head will go up to there, which is actually pretty good, considering this head is sort of similar to like a Leo or a Zaku or something, where it's just very simple and very low set into the body there, but actually it's pretty good up and down articulation, up and down there like that. The shoulders will actually swing out to the front there pretty far like that, and then you can move these up and down just a little bit, but you want to be a little bit careful because I keep running into this problem. They keep popping off, as you can see. First of all, just a very odd connection. See how far away the arm is set out there away from the body, but the shoulder armor just sits up on top of there, and it's not a very strong connection. If I just keep touching it around, it keeps popping off very easily. But otherwise, we just got some rotation here at the top of the arm. The joint in the elbow will give you about 90 degrees, and that is about it. The wrist, of course, just on a ball joint. But then we do also have a hinge there in the wrist as well, which is pretty nice. The hands are, you know, they are what they are. They're a little bit ugly looking in my opinion, but they do sort of match the design, I suppose. In the stomach section, we do have some forward and back bend here a little bit, and then side to side as well. It's just kind of on a ball joint in there, so you can also rotate that at the waist a little bit as well. These skirt armor parts, the front skirt will move up to there, and you can see nice color separation of the red in there. That's cool. On the side skirts, those will also move up a little bit. And the back skirt, kind of weird, it will move up. It's two parts. The lower part can move up like that, but it's actually meant to fold in like that for the transformation, which we'll see in a moment. As far as the legs, those can come out all the way to the sides, and no problem with that, and then all the way up to the front, about to 90 degrees. And then bend at the knee, you've just got the single joint, which will give you just a little bit more than 90 degrees like that. Some interesting detail again for the transformation there. At the ankles, those will move side to side pretty well like that, and then forward up to about there, back to about there without popping off the ball joint, polycap in there, and then up underneath the feet you got some detail there as well, which all looks pretty good. So one thing that I will say about this kit right off the bat is that it's pretty weak. Just moving it around here, I mean, I just built it up just yesterday, and I'm just moving it around here kind of pretty gently. You know, I'm not like thrashing it around or anything, and a lot of stuff keeps wanting to fall off. The arm fell off, the shoulder armor keeps popping off really easily. And I mentioned this in the live build too, the legs are really loose kind of, so where the hip is connected to the leg there, where it's like rotating there, that part is tight enough, but the connection of that gray part into like the lower leg here is kind of loose, so like the leg is kind of loose on here and doesn't really feel like a really strong connection. It seems to be holding the leg on there well enough. It's not popping off of that ball joint up inside there, but it's kind of a little loose. It doesn't feel very solid anyway. Now, as far as the general construction of the kit, there's two things that I want to mention, one good and one bad. So the good thing is, as I alluded to before, is the color separation is pretty good. Lots of bits that you would think on like normal high grades would probably just be a simple sticker are not, like the red bit here on the front skirts, these dark brown parts in the shoulders, there's actual part separation here. On the face, you have red parts, dark brown parts, and then just the light tannish parts there. So the color separation in a few different areas is pretty good, and basically you have color separation everywhere where you need it, except for, as I mentioned, the black dots around on some of these parts. So it kind of would have been nice to have those as color separated parts. But the negative thing that I'll point out about this kit is just the amount of seam lines that it has. It does have a lot of them. So the front and back half of the torso, there's a seam line between there. That's pretty standard though. On the shoulder here, this end cap is a solid piece, but across the top of the shoulder you have a seam line there. On the forearm, you have a seam line down the side of this forearm part, and then on this dark green part there, you have a seam line down the middle of that with the spike and everything, so seam line through there. On the thighs, a seam line down the middle of there. On the lower leg, a seam line down the back half of that, not on the front though, luckily that's covered up by a part there on the front. And then, as I mentioned, on the rifle as well. So there's quite a lot of seams on this kit, which you say, hey, it's a high grade, what do you expect? Yes, that's true, but compared to the other, the Leo and the Magonak, I feel like this one has more, and especially compared to just kind of high grades in general these days, are kind of doing a lot better as far as hiding the seam lines or just having less seam lines. This one seems like it has a lot that probably could have been avoided in different ways. If it was up to me to guess, of course, you know, we have to kind of put some trust in Bandai's engineers that they probably did their best with it. So there's probably reasons for why it does have the seam lines, but it just makes it more work for us as modelers to have to deal with those before getting ready to paint this kit. And for a quick size comparison, here it is with the Magonak and the RX-782 Gundam. So you can see they are going to be generally a little bit shorter than your standard Gundam. And again, just about the comparison with the Magonak, also had some pretty good color separation there with some of the different orange and brown parts fitting in together, but definitely less seam lines compared to the Death Army kit. Now, some of the seam lines on the Magonak they were able to hide as panel lines, and maybe they just didn't want to add panel lines to the Death Army. Maybe they wanted to keep it close as possible to the original artwork, would be my guess as to why they did it that way. But again, it's just something to point out for you guys to be aware of when you're building the kit. So here's a look at the kit once you've transformed it, basically just by folding up the legs, swapping out the feet, and then kind of folding the armor on the back of the ankles around over the top of the new folded up feet. And yep, that's pretty much it. And I guess this is sort of its hover mode kind of basically. So it's cool that it can do that. I don't know how many people are really going to want to display their kit like this. And so it's always nice when Bandai includes stuff like this, just cool stuff that you're able to recreate with the kits. But it is kind of goofy. Anyway, the kit overall I think is pretty good in terms of it just being a fun, simple HG kit of a, I would say, fan favorite, as in it's a favorite among people who are actually fans of this series. If you're not a big fan of G-Gundam, I don't know if this is going to be a really very popular suit. I haven't really heard a whole lot of people saying they like this suit, but they don't like G-Gundam as a series. So I don't know, those of you guys who maybe aren't big fans of the series, what do you think about this mobile suit in general? What do you think about this kit? I personally would think that it would be kind of appealing to people, even if they aren't big fans of G-Gundam, that it's just still a pretty cool looking mobile suit just in general as a grunt, and it would be very easy to customize this, I think, by adding other panel lines or details or weathering, especially if you wanted to weather this up, dirty it up, you know, damage it and all of that kind of stuff. It'd be very easy to do. It's just a very simple kit. It didn't, as if you guys watched the live build, it didn't take me any time at all to get this put together. So basically the overall message here is just that it's cheap, simple, but effectively finally gives us an actual model kit of the Death Army, which is cool. It's appreciated. As a fan, I like it. It's not the best kit in the world, but it is what it is, and I'm just glad that we got an actual kit of this rather than not having one for the longest time, so it's pretty cool. I'm definitely looking forward to working on this a little bit more in the future. Not looking forward to some of those seam lines, especially through the seam lines like on the rifle, going through those spikes and everything. That's going to be a real pain in the ass, but I don't know, we'll just have to see what we can do about that. In the meantime, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you have questions or comments, of course, feel free to leave those down below. Again, thank you to ZakuGundam Store for their support, and as always, guys, y'all have a great day. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.